Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 bass lines. For this list, we'll be looking at the most memorably creative and effective bass riffs to support a catchy composition. These groovy, technically impressive performances exemplify the height of the rhythm instruments, often defining a hit song as a bona fide classic. Are there any other bass lines that really stand out for you? Come jam with us in the comments. Number 20, Stand By Me, Benny King. Classical rhythm and blues are on full display in Benny King's simultaneously moving and shaking masterpiece.
When the night has come,
Stand By Me is a romantic soul ballad about dependability, yet its iconic bass line is always walking tall. Seasoned jazz virtuoso Lloyd Trotman plays the simple upright bass part with a bright, smooth tone that made King's song an instantly recognizable hit.
no, I won't be afraid.
It has since been popularly covered by artists of many different genres and cemented in the nostalgia of every generation since the 1986 movie of the same name. Benny King's passionate lyrics and vocals are sure to lift your spirit, but Trotman's touch of jazz was no less key to making Stand By Me stand out as an R&B classic.
Oh, stand by me, stand by me.
Number 19, London Calling, The Clash. London Calling is one of the most acclaimed rock albums ever, and its title track is a punk masterpiece.
London calling to the faraway towns. Now war is declared and battle come down.
The Clash's intense beat sells the lyrics' apocalyptic warnings, but Paul Simonin's bass line really hooks your attention. The brightly toned ascending and descending strums clearly sport the reggae influences that distinguish the band.
London calling, see we ain't got no swing except for the rain and the crunch of thing.
Rarely, though, has this sound been so starkly contrasted with the percussive rhythm of punk. The unconventional bass part disciplines the composition to give you a sense of marching to war. London Calling may not be the most challenging bass line to play, but Simonin's imaginative blend of melody and urgency always calls out.
London calling at the top of the dial, and after all this, won't you give me a smile?
Number 18, Feel Good Inc., Gorillaz featuring De La Soul. Murdoch Nichols is one of the most provocative bass stars modern rock has never actually seen. As aggressively as the fictional founder of the Gorillaz tries to get attention in animation, he got his highest praise for Feel Good Inc. The song's fat bass line, actually played by the coincidentally named Morgan Nichols, is a quintessential funky strut.
City's breaking down on a camel's back. They just have to go 'cause they don't know where.
It boasts the eerie groove needed for the song's tricky blend of alt-rock drama and hip-hop worthy of De La Soul. This ingenious flow propelled Feel Good Inc. as one of Gorillaz' most acclaimed and popular songs. Whether you want to give Murdoch Nichols or Morgan Nichols credit for this, the euphoric feel of that bass line is irresistible. Number 17, Orion Metallica. Cliff Burton is considered one of the titans of heavy metal bass. His tragically short-lived career changed the game with blistering and experimental riffs. Of course, Metallica's Orion might be his masterpiece. Burton opens up with a droning crescendo before unleashing a galloping bass line with his signature distortion. The tone and composition evolve from there, shaping and reshaping the epic instrumental along the way. It's a sophisticated performance that further pushed the role of the bass as a driving force in heavy metal. It's really hard to decide which of Burton's leading hooks is Metallica's fan favorite, but to fully understand the originality and influence of his style, Orion is the star of his legacy. Number 16. Hysteria Muse. Hysteria, as a concept, never sounds as catchy as it does with Muse's inventive use of electronic effects and infectious riffs. While most of their apocalyptic anthems hook with Matthew Bellamy's ever-unpredictable guitar experiments, Chris Wolstenholme takes the lead in the song Hysteria. His rapid, heavily distorted bass line kicks the song off with a shock, then gallops throughout the dynamic melody. This intense sound captures a sense of obsessive drive, but is also strangely funky. Integral to making Hysteria one of Muse's most memorable staples, this bass line is altogether considered one of the greats of modern rock. Wolstenholme's perfectly fuzzed tone-along has driven many bass guitarists into their own unhealthy obsession. Number 15. My Generation, The Who. The voice of a new, louder generation of rock was practically declared by The Who in 1965.
People try to put us to down. Talking about my generation.
Their rebellious breakout My Generation featured a uniquely fast, percussive rhythm, anchored by John Entwistle on a Fender jazz bass guitar. With his swift two-finger waltz and flashy reprieve, you listen up. It's such a driving groove that Entwistle fills one verse with an incredible bass solo, almost unheard of in mainstream rock. If nothing else, the track announced him as one of the most inventive bassists of his style. The Ox went on to be hailed as one of the great masters of his instrument for his increasingly sophisticated performances with The Who. But My Generation stands out for a bass line to get all generations jumping. Number 14. Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again, Sly and the Family Stone. Larry Graham's inventive slap bass technique, or as he calls it, thumpin' and pluckin', helped make Sly and the Family Stone one of the pioneers of funk.
Fingers start shaking.
It all started with their hopping anthem, Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again. No one had heard such a loud and quick bass sequence of driving low notes and popping highs. It turned out Graham had adapted for electric guitar the upright bass technique of percussively striking with his thumb.
Dance to the music. All night long.
Suddenly, bassists everywhere were thumping and plucking. Of course, it remained Graham's signature move after Thank You became a smash hit. It has since inspired some of the funkiest bass lines ever, and we all have Larry Graham being himself to thank for that.
I want to thank you for letting me be myself again.
Number 13. Give It Away, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Michael Flea Balzery is one of bass's biggest stars for his explosive talents and live antics.
What I got, you got to give it to your mama. What I got, you got to give it to your papa.
Of all the alternative rock classics he's distinguished with jazzy funk, Give It Away might be the height of this style. To be the Red Hot Chili Peppers' breakout track, it's certainly one of their most memorable for its driving rap and rhythm.
On the best rap material, excess love is free, love me, say hell yes.
This flow grew out of a jam session between Flea and guitarist John Frusciante, but is really driven by a swampy pluck and bouncing chord that jumps right into your head. It's the perfect bass line to tie together the Chili Peppers' iconic sound. With Give It Away hyping up generosity, Flea's bass line also lays down an infectious energy that's perfect to share with the crowd. Number 12, Wrathchild, Iron Maiden. As the lead songwriter of the epic heavy metal band Iron Maiden, Steve Harris knows how to complement the ensemble's fast-paced dynamics with his elaborate bass work. But he's especially the star of the show on the uniquely groovy Wrathchild. The bass line is a fast and technical pattern that's tight enough for an infectious repetition. After it kicks the raucous track off, the line sticks in your head. It's an interestingly funky twist on Harris's distinct galloping style. Of course, he and the rest of the band gradually build tempo throughout the blazing performance. There are surely more popular and technical displays of Harris's awesome talent, but Wrathchild may definitively showcase his mastery of old-fashioned groove. Number 11, American Life, Primus. Considered a true bassist's bassist, Les Claypool has filled Primus's catalog with memorable and technically astounding riffs.
In a town in southernmost Sicily, left a family too proud to be poor.
Of all the mainstream hits that this style has produced, American Life is a fan favorite. In addition to hooking with his signature fast and bouncy slap technique, Claypool hammer-ons with his left hand. This gives the riff a firm pop and dizzying roll. It's a remarkable trick that Claypool modifies throughout one of Primus's more aggressive compositions. Where a lot of his bass lines became pop hits for their sheer comic quirk, American Life is a very serious funk metal masterpiece. You may not hear it on many radio stations, but bass enthusiasts consider this driving riff a proper challenge. Number 10, Dazed and Confused, Led Zeppelin. Jimmy Page has gotten in a lot of trouble for his unauthorized adaptation of Jake Holmes' Dazed and Confused for the Yardbirds and Led Zeppelin.
Been dazed and confused for so long, it's not true.
Page notably sets his version apart with the modified bass line, while Zeppelin's John Paul Jones fully brings it to life. Though his performance intensifies with the raging anthem, the droning hook sets the perfect tone of bluesy angst and psychedelic groove.
Run, sweet baby, Lord, how they hypnotize.
Listeners know that they're in for a bad trip, hopefully just romantically. Live viewers know that they're in for an epic. Page's simple chromatic descent is full of drama that Jones conveys beautifully. Zeppelin's Dazed and Confused may be an undeniable classic on its own for those looking to vent some heartbreak. But oh, how that bass line hypnotizes. Everywhere. Number 9, The Chain, Fleetwood Mac. The Chain is one of Fleetwood Mac's most intense hits, though not right away. The song was originally written as a melancholy breakup ballad until Stevie Nicks heard a catchy bass progression that John McVie was working on. These two very different sounds wound up chained together in a thumping blues piece with a driving hard rock climax.
And if you don't love me now, you'll never love me again.
That 10-note bass lick that breaks the silence before the outro is so worth the wait. This spine-chilling riff evokes an action-packed drama and was notably the iconic theme for the BBC's Formula One program, Grand Prix. Though this made The Chain especially popular in McVie's native UK, the classic breakup song's final breakdown is sure to get everyone fired up. Number 8, Billie Jean, Michael Jackson. Louis Thunder Thumbs Johnson's dynamic rhythm made the Brothers Johnson a hit, but his highest commercial achievement was jamming with Michael Jackson on the immortal album Thriller.
She was more like a beauty queen from a movie scene.
This collaboration gave birth to Billie Jean. While the song's melody progresses in dramatic staccato, the thumb-led bass line keeps a repetitive waltz that's twice the tempo of the drum beats. The haunting yet danceable ballad is practically defined by its relentless rhythm. Producer Quincy Jones was no lover of the unusual contrast. But Jackson, who built the song around the bass concept, found it thrilling enough to inspire his iconic moonwalk. What seems like a simple bass progression was actually a stroke of genius for Johnson, making Billie Jean one of the hottest dance anthems of all time. Number 7. YYZ, Rush. Geddy Lee's powerful and precise bass playing is all the more phenomenal for his ability to belt out at the same time. Of course, there's no breaking concentration with Rush's near-impossible instrumental, YYZ. And yes, it's pronounced Zed. The title refers to the airport code of Toronto Pearson International and is spelled in Morse code by the song's thrashing opening riff. After that, Lee leads a stampeding jam. From these acrobatic jazz-influenced lines to a stunning solo, YYZ is widely considered one of the greatest bass performances in rock history. Sure, the soaring rhythm is hard to move to, let alone replicate. But as the envy of bassists everywhere, the instrumental is a definitive display of Lee's high-flying skills. Number 6. I Wish, Stevie Wonder. There's surely an art to playing scales in a way that shows real technique. Nathan Watts mastered that art in the Stevie Wonder staple, I Wish. Watts and Wonder collaborated on the song at the end of a long recording session for the 1976 album, Songs in the Key of Life. You can hear that in the simplicity of the composition structure, but are hopelessly hooked by the opening jam between the bass and keyboards. I Wish struts fast and smooth, carried by the bass line's distinctly thick tone and uplifting steps. This yielded one of Wonder's signature songs and formally declared his then-new bassist as a natural collaborator. Watts has been with the R&B legend ever since I Wish revolutionized his unmistakable groove. Number 5. Roundabouts, Yes. Yes helped define progressive rock with a virtuoso fusion of contrasting styles.
I'll be the roundabout. The words will make you out and out.
That's especially evident in the classic Roundabouts, a jazzy and melodic epic driven by an intense bass line. Chris Squire's highly technical and loud guitar picking produces a bass riff that nearly drowns out the brighter lead instruments and vocals. This breaks all the rules of a rhythm instrument, with Squire himself usually reserving such dynamic playing for Yes's faster songs. But his masterful sense of tone and groove gives even their most complicated anthems an organic hook. Roundabout is a prime example of the technical, jazz-influenced leading that influenced the bass's versatile role in prog rock. Though Squire gives a killer performance throughout the elaborate suite, his lead riff makes it irresistible. Number 4. Good Times, Chic. As a favorite of 70s disco, Chic is synonymous with good times in general.
Good times. These are the good times.
Bassist Bernard Edwards deserves much credit for his elaborate and funky playing, but his flow reached its peak on the 1979 mega hit, Good Times.
Put an end to the stress and strife. I think I want to live the sporty life.
The bass line follows three simple notes with a flurry of complex leads and scale changes. It's a flashy hook, but it carries the whole band's bright and energetic jam. Good Times became an anthem for partying your woes away, and one of the most sampled tracks ever. Edwards' performance has also influenced countless bassists in modern dance music. He delivered many other memorable masterpieces before his sudden passing at the age of 43, but his bass line on Good Times alone consistently lives up to the song's title. Number 3. Come Together, The Beatles. Speaking of grooving up slowly, The Beatles' Come Together hooks you right away with a seemingly simple bass lick that displays Paul McCartney's genius with the instruments.
Here come old flat top, he come grooving up slowly.
With just 2 beats and an elongated chord countering Ringo Starr's drum roll, listeners are immediately bounced in. No matter how much the composition evolves from there, McCartney keeps the flow together.
He bad production, he got walrus gumboot.
Unfortunately, a lawsuit revealed that this composition was a slower revision of the Chuck Berry song, You Can't Catch Me. McCartney's swampy riff, however, was a wholly original motif that has been covered by many musicians, including Michael Jackson and Aerosmith. It's safe to say that the Beatles have delivered their own classic in Come Together, complete with a legendary bass track.
Come together right now over me.
Number 2. Money, Pink Floyd. The Pink Floyd album, The Dark Side of the Moon, features some of the most hypnotic progressive rock ever. That makes it all the more striking when side 2 opens with the sound of a cash register. Then one of the coolest bass lines around. Roger Waters drives money with a looping, unconventionally metered riff that gives the hard rock anthem a distinct funk and blues flair. Though the single lambasts capitalism, it made its own stack as one of Pink Floyd's biggest hits.
Money, get back.
Waters' catchy riff was undoubtedly key to breaking the band out on American pop charts. Money may not be the quintessential showcase of their progressive style, but it's the ultimate status symbol for Waters' hook with bass enthusiasts and wider consumers alike.
Money, so they say.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Another One Bites the Dust, Queen. John Deacon deserves great praise for holding together Queen's diverse and complex sound.
Let's go. He walks further down the street with the brim pulled way down low.
Just as impressive, of course, is how he elevated one of their simpler compositions into one of their most iconic. Deacon himself wrote Another One Bites the Dust, openly influenced by Bernard Edwards' performance on Chic's Good Times.
Another one bites the dust.
The Queen song's bass line still stands out for its thick tone and funky strut. It lays down suspense while making it impossible to not groove along. Another One Bites the Dust has been immortalized as one of Queen's biggest hits and a funk rock standard, thanks almost entirely to Deacon's impeccable rhythm. Though he has been retired since 1997, Deacon's impact on the bass as the engine of a rock hit isn't going anywhere.
And another one gone, and another one gone, another one bites the dust, yeah.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.